Hello everybody, Jonathan Reeves here with another Enscape and Vectorworks video. Now today we're going to be looking at the new release of Enscape 2.9 alongside Vectorworks 2021. And you can see I've just launched the program, and the really nice thing is you get a little dialogue which kind of welcomes you, talks about the drivers and how to get those installed, how to actually add Enscape to your workspace and how to get started. So that's a really nice little welcome screen. So all you need to do if you're not already got Enscape installed is go and find the installer from the Enscape website, then go to Tools, Third Party, Enscape, and then just run this command here, add Enscape to workspace. What will happen is it will take a second to reload, and then when you come back into the workspace you're going to find that you're going to have the Enscape tools down here. If you do want to, you can drag those off, which is quite a nice aspect of Vectorworks. And basically we can have a look at how we can get started on these. So what I'm going to do is actually open up one of my projects that I've been working on for a while and just recently submitted for planning, and I'd really like to show the client some more visuals of the project. So we're going to have a look at how easy this is. So just to introduce the project very briefly, let's just turn off the page boundary there. Here we are in Vectorworks, and you can see it's quite a nice little model. Essentially it's a bungalow, an existing bungalow that we're kind of doing a bit of refurb work on. And really the main extensions are these two at the back, sort of kitchen extension, living room with a studio above. It's only a really small project, but it's a nice little project to show you this sort of example on. So all we need to do if we'd like to visualize this in Enscape is really with one click of a button, click on Enscape Renderer and click on Start Enscape, and that's the beauty. It's so easy to do, and when you do you kind of get basically a nice little tip here. Tip of the day, so do pay attention to those if you get a chance before it loads up. So basically with one click we've launched Enscape, and you'll see it'll take a few seconds to load, but here we are now in my Enscape model. Now we've got a couple of things we can do. We can kind of click into the window here, we can freely sort of navigate around using the WASD keys and Q and E. Q is down, E is up. We can click the middle button and sort of pan the view if you like. And if you click the right button you can orbit and rotate around. So you can see it's absolutely stunning quality in real time. As soon as you release the mouse it actually renders even better as well. But one of the really kind of nice aspects of Enscape is the fact that we have total coordination between our Vectorworks model and Enscape. So all we need to do to enable this is go to Enscape Renderer and just make sure that we've got synchronized views turned on. So what that means is now as soon as I click back into Vectorworks, for example, maybe I get my kind of walkthrough tool, so walk around. Let's get my rotate tool here. Let's pan across. You can see I'm doing all this operations just in Vectorworks using the general walkthrough tools, and Enscape is responding in real time on the other screen. So you can run this in split screen mode as I'm doing now. Even nicer actually is when you run Enscape on a separate monitor, which is obviously difficult for recording purposes, but you get a really good idea. Now, another really cool thing is that if we go to our save views in Vectorworks, you can see I've got a bunch of save views here, and actually I can go to those. I'm not quite sure what they're going to be. Okay, yeah, that's cool. That's a new save view setting there, and let's have a quick look at a few others. You can see it's basically just jumping between them. I've even got some internal views saved as well, which I'll come back to in a moment. Okay, so here we are back in our Vectorworks project, and I want to show you a few other things. You can see I've been doing a little bit more work on the assets here in Enscape, and what I want to show you is I've organised them now into some different classes. So the good thing is I can sort of turn them off in Vectorworks if I don't want the client to see those, manage them easily using classes. So I've got Enscape People and I've got Enscape Plant so far. So what I'm going to do is let's get into Enscape, which I've got open over here, and let's resynchronize the view. So I'm just going to pop that over to snap to that mid screen again. Let's do the same on the Vectorworks model. Good. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll click onto Enscape. Let's resynchronize our view. Sort of pan across a bit here. Now what I want to show you here is a really cool new feature, is that we can now click our orthogonal views in Vectorworks, and you'll see that we actually get the Enscape window previewing as well. So on the Vectorworks keypad, if you click 2 on a numerical keypad, you get your front view, 5 is top plan, 4 is the side view, and so on. So that is a particularly nice feature, the fact that we can now get these orthogonal views. I think that's excellent. Another really nice feature in Vectorworks, if we tap the space bar, we now get the Smart Options display that we can actually use to control not only our Vectorworks model, But you can see how really nice that is in sort of real time, actually kind of controlling the Enscape view as well. But as I say, it's really nice how you can just pop over here and adjust that lighting in real time. So change the time of the day on that model over there. And I wanted to show you that you can even carry on working. So if I hold the control key down, I've got a plant here, an Enscape plant. If I drag off a copy, you'll see it immediately kind of updates in Enscape. And if I do Command D, Command D, Command D in Vectorworks, it just duplicates those plants. So this is really rapid now in terms of sort of working with these low polygon sort of proxies in Enscape. Let's kind of just move these around, and the thing is you can kind of see it updating over here on this window in real time, which is nice. In fact, that's supposed to be a sort of planting bed, so let's duplicate a few more of those and just quickly sort of rapidly duplicate a little line of those up there. What else have we got here? We've got some nice sort of rocks and things like that. Let's also have a go at placing some more assets in top plan. So I'm going to go to vegetation, and let's see if we've got a fairly small tree, a little birch tree perhaps. That's nice. And let's go and sort of place that. It's probably a bit big for the garden there. But you can see that's immediately kind of updated into our model. So we'll just add a few more props into the design. And let's just see if we got the asset library down there. Yes, we did. We just minimized it already. Let's click on some ground cover. We'll go with some fallen leaves. I'll just kind of pop some of those onto the deck there. Although it looks a bit strange in Vectorworks, the good thing is, as I say, we can easily put it into a new class. Let's call this Enscape hyphen, let's call this Entourage. Click OK. And that means that I can now, in Vectorworks, when I'm working, I can turn that off, but it's still available in the Enscape model. Okay, good. Right. Another feature that I just wanted to remind you about is that now we can tap the spacebar and we can just pop round and look at these different views in real time. And that's underneath. And we can get the elevations as well. So really, really nice how we can actually kind of generate elevations in real time from our model just by kind of moving around in the Vectorworks model. So that looks absolutely fantastic, I think. With Enscape, using the U and the I key, we can kind of drive through. I do like the way it animates. It only animates actually when you're changing something, when you're moving. So let's go for that. That's a really nice little view. So all I need to do then, just to take that screenshot once again, is let's just check our visual settings, just to check there as they should be. Yep, okay, so let's go up to Ultra HD, which is a good resolution to be fair. And let's go for it. Let's go for a JPEG. There's quite a few different file formats in here, as you can see. And once again, I'm just going to reselect my default folder. I think probably it resets itself every time you reuse Enscape, so that's not a bad thing to do, just to double check all that before you kind of carry it on ahead. I did want to show you also, if you go to kind of things like atmosphere, I might just want a pure white background for this particular render. You can't really see too much sort of in terms of sky because it's an elevation, but I want a pure white background, and let's go for it. So I'm going to go render this one out. Let's take a screenshot, and it will take a few seconds. Let's render it into there. Let's see how the progress bar is. I could have framed it up a bit better really, but you get the idea. Let's have a quick look at that image. So we'll go to our drive. Let's go to Enscape, renders. There we go. Yeah, okay, I really wish I'd made it a bit bigger, but you get the idea. What a very nice high quality image. Okay, brilliant. So rendering things like elevations and orthogonal views, these kind of things, really quite straightforward now with Enscape, as well as sort of perspectives. Now, if you do want to turn the perspective on, remember you just simply click up to here. We can go to normal or narrow or even wide angle. Wide angle is quite nice, particularly for things like internal views, when you're kind of getting right down into the project. So I think, if I have two screens particularly, I can really kind of use this to show the client what they can expect. And I love the way you can kind of drive around in real time. That tree and things like the grass are now animated as well. And the fact that I can actually kind of, just carry on working anytime with Enscape, duplicating these sort of items all of this is very, very nice new behavior. And you'll notice that it really is quite responsive because the low polygon sort of proxies that I'm using don't take up a lot of memory at all. You know, that saves you a lot of trouble in Enscape as well. What I did there actually, I've just clicked onto a shortcut which is introduce the collaboration mode. And this is quite a nice little feature because what I can actually do here is I can essentially click and I can right click and do things like create, say, a little comment if you like. And what it does a little rendering of that, and I can put a comment in for the client, you know, decking to be approved, just in case they don't like decking, and so on. And what that means is you can see this little comment is there. So if we go back to, let's save those, you'll see I've actually got a number of little kind of issues that I was kind of raising with the client, maybe for a meeting. Let's go back to the others here. And what's nice is it kind of does a little animation between, and even inside, I want to ask if they're happy with the beam here and those kind of issues. So I really recommend sort of using the collaborative side of Enscape as well as the visualization side. I do think this is a very nice feature. I think it will allow you to actually kind of work with your clients and other consultants as well. So nice little feature. When you're happy though, you can kind of get rid of that one and just shut it away. Another new thing that I haven't yet actually found a way to get working with Vectorworks, but I'm sure this will come, is when you click on an object, you can right click and show BIM data. Unfortunately, there is no BIM data that seems to be coming through at the moment, so I'm sure that's something that's going to be worked on. But that would be fantastic if we could get the BIM data of things like the doors and the windows and the different elements as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that feature develop. Okay, fantastic. So I think we've had a really good coverage of the majority of the features of Enscape itself. And really there's just one more big feature that I want to show you. So it's the animation side of things. So for this, what I'm actually going to do is let's go ahead and basically have a look at the animation side. So if we go to, we've got take screenshot here. We've also got render video. Before that though, what I need to do is go into Enscape itself, click H to bring up my little browser there. This is the normal sort of browser, okay? And if I click K, I get into the video editor. So what I'm going to do is see if we can kind of swing round and let's get a nice sort of view here. Let's kind of go forward a bit. And what I want to do is a little animation, just kind of moving forward a bit. So it's very, very straightforward. I'm just going to click create keyframe, move forward a bit with my WASD keys. Let's go forward a bit more here. And when I'm ready, I click add a keyframe. I can go forward a bit more if I want to. Let's add another little keyframe zooming in here, perhaps pan around a bit. Let's go for it. So really, really simple, just 3 keyframes, and let's just preview. So you can see I'm just previewing in real time. Lovely the way the trees are blowing and the grass is moving now. That's a nice new feature, and you see the effect of that lighting. Now what you can do is you can adjust the time just by sliding this little slider here. So if I want that to be a bit slower, let's go to say 15 seconds. Let's click preview again. You can see how nice and smooth that is now. So it's really, really nice. It's not particularly spectacular animation I'm creating, but you know, just to give you an idea of how easy that is. But that's actually quite a nice little view. I do like the way the light's coming into the building. Good, okay, so I'm going to click leave and let's go back to Vectorworks, and I'm simply going to go to render video now. We've got that video set up. We can give it a little name, so let's go to our renders today, click and save. So once we start to render, again, the beauty of Enscape is the speed. It's like, you know, real-time rendering is one of these sort of aspects that's been so new on the market. And you can see here we go, it's sort of already, you know, progressing quite rapidly. When we get to the final quality, we'll just give this a few moments. It should be pretty spectacular. Now, I'm just going to have a quick peek at what my graphics card's doing. So I've got a little thing here called NZT Cam. And this is quite interesting because what you see is my CPU is barely being touched. Okay, all the work is being done really on the graphics card. So the key with real-time rendering software like Enscape, Twinmotion, Lumion, any of these softwares is to have a really good graphics card. Now you can see I've actually got probably one of the best graphics cards you can get on my PC. a 2080 Ti RTX GeoForce. Very, very nice graphics card, very powerful. Now we've got the 3080, which is even more powerful. That's pretty awesome. I've actually got a really good processor, but as I say, you know, in some ways it's barely touching that. So, you know, do bear that in mind when you're speccing up a PC. Don't necessarily blow the budget on the CPU. You know, if I were you, if you want to do this kind of work, I'd spend it on the graphics card. In fact, I think the graphics card here was half the cost of the PC. So that's quite interesting. Okay, so we're nearly done. I think you can quit this at any time, but I'm quite happy to let that go. It's nearly done now. I'm getting quite excited to see how it pans out. Let's go and start to have a look for this. Just a few more seconds and we'll be there. So what do you think? I think that's a really nice little example of how we can create some animation, and I might have a little look at doing an internal one a bit later as well. Okay, so that's done. Let's go and have a quick look at that video. I'm not sure what the resolution was, but let's go and check it out anyway. So here we go. Here's our movie. There we go. Look at that. Very, very nice. Higher quality even. I love the trees moving around. Love that water rippling in the pond, or possibly a hot tub, depending on how you would like to see that. I really like the reflections and things like this. And I think that's extremely nice quality for a very, very short space of time. So, fantastic. So, what else can we do? Well, the next thing I would like to show you on Enscape is there's a few other settings that are new. Let's just quickly look at the general settings. There's not a huge amount in here, but now we can actually overlay your own sort of custom titles and things like that. There's a few input settings in here as well, if you would like to have a look at those. Things like the mouse speed and the movement speed. So sometimes you want to tune Enscape up to your own requirements there. We've also got different devices, and if you've got like an RTX graphics card, you can enable RTX ray tracing. I've got a really nice 2080 Ti with RTX capability, so I'm going to have that on. Some network settings, some licensing settings, and a few preferences, and this is where we can show the first steps window, which I quite like to show when it's greeting, and a few other settings as well. Good, okay, so now let's have a look at the visual settings, far more interesting. Go to visual settings. In the beginning, we've got the rendering settings. So what these do are really straightforward. If you see the outlines, at the moment in Vectorworks, I've got OpenGL with some edges on. Quite like that look. So if I kind of slide this up, you'll see, start to see some edges coming into my Enscape model over here. And that looks quite nice, quite sort of sketchy already. If you go a bit heavier, it goes a bit more sketchy probably. And you go right up to quite sketchy. I quite like something a little bit more subtle, so have a quick look at that. You see that's really kind of nice, sort of graphical. It's a kind of halfway house between being quite sort of realistic and a bit more kind of conceptual. And at the early stage of the project, that's pretty cool. Now we can simply slide that down when we're ready as well. One other aspect that I really like is the fact that we can go to the white card model. So if I go to mode, change to white card model, you can see immediately Enscape changes to a lovely white card representation. I can right click and I can slide through the different times of the day. So let's go full screen into Enscape, and let's just pan back a little bit here and basically slide through the times of the day by holding shift down and right clicking. And you can see the time over here in this bottom right corner. Really beautiful rendering. We can even go to night time and the lights come on, which is pretty cool. Those Vectorworks lights know to come on. Look at that quality of rendering. Now you'll notice the preview is amazing. As soon as you let go, it even renders at higher quality. It kind of smooths everything and renders out to be even more refined. So love the lighting in Enscape. Absolutely fantastic for doing things like shadow studies and lighting studies as well. So what do you think about the right card view? I think that's really nice. Let's have a kind of zoom out a bit. Let's get up a bit higher and just sort of spin around. Have a look at that model in a bit more detail. You know, this is really nice alternative to having to kind of get out the glue and the cardboard and scalpels, the traditional sort of model making activities. Let's just scroll through that time one more time. Absolutely gorgeous. So I actually really like that view. Let's just kind of frame it up to be more of an isometric, and let's just pan that down. So that's gorgeous. Right, so what we need to do if we'd like to capture this view is let's just kind of pop Enscape back over there, and I'll come back to these settings in a minute. But basically I'm going to go to capture, and I would like to capture that as an Ultra HD 3, you know, pretty good high resolution aspect image. all I need to do then, if I'm happy, is let's just close that one down for a second. And with one click, take screenshot, I can simply click onto my model. If I do want to just tweak the view ever so slightly now, I can do. When I'm ready, I just click OK. And you'll see it's asking me to save. So the first time you do this, it'll ask you where to save. So we'll go to Enscape. I'm going to go into my new renders folder. Got one in there already, but let's click save. And then what's going to happen is down here, you're going to get the progress bar, rendering image. And before you know it, it's actually done. So it's absolutely phenomenal speed. Because it's GPU based, it's extremely quick. Let's have a look at this one, the polystyrol model. Slightly different, and basically this gives you a slightly sort of different representation as well. Let's just change through that lighting, something a bit different, maybe change the view. Let's just kind of spin around that sun and kind of get round to this side of the project a bit more. Excellent, that's a really nice little view. When I'm happy, I will basically go ahead, let's click, take a screenshot once again. Don't need to refine it, so just click OK and click save. You can see how fast it is. So that's really cool. You know, you'll notice that you can actually leave the settings up as you do it. So what might be quite nice is to just try out one more type of setting here on the white card. Just put some little edges on. That's a nice little graphical view. Let's just tweak the time of day a little bit. So we'll sort of slide through those shadows. Get that lighting coming in a bit more nicely. While we're here, actually, we can also do a number of other things. If we go to atmosphere, for example, we can say white background, just so we have a completely white background on this particular model. That looks really, really cool. And let's go to image, and we'll just turn auto contrast on. And that gives you a really nice sort of heavy contrast image. Maybe that's a bit too much. Let's kind of tweak these settings here. So you can see it's all kind of slider based. There's no real right from wrong. You're just going to kind of go for what, you know, feels and looks right. Color temperature and all these little sliders here. Let's go for the ambient. Let's boost that up a little bit brighter. And I think we'll just change that time of day. Something a little bit brighter there. Good. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that image. Let's take a screenshot once again. Let's click OK. You can see the whole process literally takes a few seconds. So that's really, really nice feature. Okay, there's one more view I do want to show you on the rendering side, and this is quite an interesting one when you're trying to do sort of lighting studies. So it's actually called the light view. So this is more applicable perhaps when you're inside. So I'm just going to go back to Vectorworks and basically go to my save views. Let's go to the kitchen, and you can see I'm inside the kitchen now. So the light view is really kind of like the lux levels, and what's interesting is you kind of slide through. As you go through the day, you can sort of see the daylighting and the lux levels falling into the building. And that's a really interesting sort of more scientific, perhaps, way of looking at the model. I quite like that. That's nice. Okay, excellent. So we've had a quick look at some of the settings in here. There's some other rendering settings that you can have a little play with, but I think that's probably enough. Now, let's go back to our normal rendered settings. Good. So we're inside our model. And let's have a quick final play around with the lighting. You can see how lovely that is. Let's go full screen. Yeah, fantastic. I've still got a little bit of an edge on, so it's slightly kind of graphic-y at the moment, but that is particularly nice. That's rather nice as the shadows come across. So let's just park that back there into the side, and let's go and turn those edges off so we get more realism. Good. Okay, so we've had a look at the views, we've had a look at lighting, and by the way, I'm only on high quality at the moment. If I go to ultra, it will even refine more than the final quality image here. Perhaps you can see that if I go full screen. Let's kind of pan back a bit. It's quite sensitive, as I say, to walk around inside. So I actually kind of prefer to set my views up in Vectorworks, and let's show you how that works. But let's just slide through this time. Now, you can use the U key and the I key as well to slide through, but it does go quite fast, so we'll warn you. So it's quite hard to control if you're using the U and the I key. It'd be nice if you could slow that down. Basically, Shift and the right key will allow you to go forward and backwards in any way you like. Excellent. That's good. Okay, good. So we've had a look at the settings here. Let's just have a quick look at some of the settings outside as well. We'll go to this garden shot. Good, we're back outside. So we'll go to atmosphere. We'll turn off the white background. I want to talk a little bit about things like the sky. We've got some fog settings here. We can kind of introduce a little bit of kind of fog, and you can see that if I go right up. That's kind of, quite nice with things in the distance. Let's keep it quite low for now though. Then we've got the sun brightness, so you can obviously brighten up the sun, kind of take that right down to get a cooler look. I quite like it a little bit warmer. A few other settings, particularly for the night sky. But then if we go down to here, we've actually got some sort of backgrounds we can set. Not really going to see that from that point of view, but let's have a quick look. Here we go. You can see now we've got a forest background, desert background and so on. Not really applicable for my projects. Let's go for just clear. You can actually load in your own custom backgrounds as well. Let's go back to that view again. I think it was that one. Fantastic, that will do. Okay, the other thing that I did want to just show you though was the clouds. They're particularly nice. So down here we've got some settings. If we go down a bit here on the clouds. So you can see I can change the cloud settings in real time, and it actually has quite a dramatic effect on the lighting. Notice that, so nice. Let's go down to that. Let's kind of slide this one around. This gives a bit more variety here. The amount of cirrus, or sort of, should we say, high clouds. So you can go really blue sky. Very, very subtle actually, but it all makes a bit of a difference. And you can actually move that sky around. So very easy to tailor and fiddle around with. Get a kind of nice looking realistic sky. Okay, so I think we've covered everything in here, the capture settings and so on. The only thing I haven't yet mentioned is this default folder. And this is quite nice. We can just basically select a default folder so that we don't have to every single time navigate through to our renders folder. So that's fine, we've got that set up. Okay, so the next aspect I would like to take a look at is the new asset library for Enscape 2.9 in Vectorworks. So when we click onto this, you see the asset library pops up, a bit like the resource manager, and it's a pretty amazing library. You can click on, there's like nearly 2,000 items in here. Kind of quick scroll through some of those. You can see there's absolutely tons of stuff. So all we need to do if we'd like to add something to the model is essentially click. So we just click on, let's say, Eli here, and basically into Vectorworks, we can kind of go and pop him onto our deck here, for example. Let's just pop him on the lawn, double click. And basically, it may not appear in Enscape straight away. So all we need to do is click onto Enscape, click on the resume live updates, and then you see he's just appeared now. So I've actually been playing around with some of the libraries a bit, and I'm just going to quickly show you a couple of hints and tips. So basically what you can do, you can obviously scroll through and look at different categories. So for example, let's say vegetation, plants and trees and rocks and things like that. Let's just add one more of those into our model. It's a pretty chunky old rock. Let's have that in that sort of place there. And basically you'll see I've actually got a layer. If I go to my Enscape Assets layer, I've actually played around with this a little bit. Now you can see it's already updated. I think it just takes a second or so sometimes. And basically what's really nice is I can work in Vectorworks with low polygon props, essentially. And these low polygon proxies basically translate into high quality Enscape assets. So although it might look like a fairly blocky plan, you can see it's called Enscape Asset. I've organised it into layers and classes again that I can turn on and off, and I can manage those. So it's really easy to do. We can kind of move them around in Vectorworks, and then that'll update the model here. Let's spin this chap around a bit more. So 0 degrees, so sort of facing towards us the other way. Really, really easy to do. And to some extent, we can actually kind of work in Enscape as well by working in Vectorworks. So if I hold the control key down, for example, and duplicate, you'll see I'm actually kind of duplicating some of those plants, and that's immediately coming through onto the Enscape model. Excellent. So the Enscape Assets is a really nice bonus now for the Vectorworks community to take advantage of. Very high quality rendered assets, but with low polygons or attributes in your CAD software. It's getting a little bit busy in this view, but I kind of like it. It's quite fun. So let's kind of show you how it would be to render that view one more time. Let's go ahead. All I need to do then, just one more time, is go to take screenshots. We do get the option to click OK and just refine the view a little bit. Let's just do that. Just sort of looking over that fence. Let's go forward a bit more. That's pretty nice. And click OK. Fine. So let's save that view. Another nice little view to have a little look at. Okay, so we've had a quick look at some of the outside assets, and you can see the kind of quality there. Once again, you do sometimes just need to resume the live updates to get that connected. So what I'm going to do is actually kind of turn on my Enscape assets layer here. I'm going to go through to the kitchen view, and I think I've got a couple of views already set up here. Now you can see I'm straight into the kitchen. Let's have a quick look at that particular view, and those Enscape assets have now translated into really kind of high quality assets in here. Got a couple of bowls of fruit as well. So you can set some really nice visuals. That's a really nice visual. I want to play with the lighting a bit, so I'm going to hold shift down and just sort of scroll through that lighting in real time. Just get some nice lighting on those surfaces there. Let's just see what would happen if we go right through. Yeah, it's really nice how you can actually just play with it in real time. That's actually really nice, just the light coming across there. So we'll just basically pop back out into Vectorworks to render that view, and we'll click on to our take screenshot. It's another nice little view. I'm really happy with the view, but as I say, if I do want to just tweak and refine it slightly, I can do. Let's click OK. See how many seconds that takes. Let's click save, and let's sort of probably 3 or 4 seconds. It's going to actually render out that view. You can see it's going now. Maybe it'll take a little bit longer if there's a bit more in the model, but still very, very fast for this level of quality of rendering. So what we'll do, we'll actually just go and open up that view for a second and take a look, and we'll review all these images at the end. But look at the glass, look at the reflections there. Absolutely stunning. Good. Okay, so let's just pop this view out. Let's just see where that is. And we're going to take a quick look. So let's go through to my folder. There it is. A few seconds to render. Beautiful, very high quality, really natural lighting, great reflections, really nice global illumination as well. So, you know, that sort of thing directly in Vectorworks would take a long, long time to render, as you know, but very, very quick in Enscape. Okay, brilliant. So we've had a look at props and things like that, and you can see the asset library is a really nice aspect of Enscape as well. We've talked about navigation and how that works and the synchronization. So there's one really final aspect I want to focus on, and it's animation. So what we can actually do here is we can click H to hide that, and we can click K to bring up the animation panel. So basically I can now click to add a keyframe. So what I'll do is probably going to best if I do this in full screen actually. Let's click and add a keyframe to our first view. You can see that little triangle's popped up. So I'm going to kind of slowly walk through a little bit more. I'm going to keep it quite sort of minimal, the movement, and add another keyframe. And then pan through one more time. Let's just kind of pan the view round a bit. So we're kind of looking out that window, add another keyframe. And I'm going to preview that view. So when I click preview, you can see it's just running through. Really nice short little clip. So all we need to do to make that clip a bit longer is, let's just hide that bar, is basically click on this little slider here and slide that through to, I don't know, something like 10 seconds maybe. Let's click preview again and just let it load. There is the real-time rendering. It's actually rendering in real time, the preview, as we go through the design. So very, very easy to set up little clips. Now all we need to do, if we'd like to render that in Vectorworks now, is go to, instead of take screenshot, we simply go to render video. Okay, and we can basically do the same thing. Let's save that video there. So you can see it's going to take a few minutes longer to render the video than it will an image, but that's fair enough because it's rendering lots and lots of frames. But it will not take too long. It'll be a matter of minutes and we'll be done. So we'll come back in a minute once that's actually finished. But you can see it's quite satisfying to watch the progress. Can we do that? Yep, we can. Pop into full screen while it's doing. Amazing quality actually, you know, the lighting and the global illumination, things like the reflectivity, this chrome, absolutely stunning. Okay, so here we are back in the inside of the kitchen here, and you can see I've done a little bit more work on this view here. I'm going to basically just click over to here and just once again, let's just sort of do a really nice sort of image here. I'm going to slide that lighting through to a slightly nicer angle. Just going to walk through a little bit here. And also I can see the outside. I just need to go and refresh and turn that on. So all I'm going to do is go to my Enscape assets, turn on my site model, just make sure all my various classes are turned on as well. And yep, that's cool. I can see they've already synced through now. So that's excellent. So when I'm ready, let's go ahead and render one more image. Let's take another screenshot there. Let's do a final bit of tweaking just on this image before we kind of go ahead and render it. And we'll click OK. Yeah, I can even change the time of day. That's pretty nice actually. Let's go through Look at that. Amazing how you can just change the time of day. I like that lighting falling there. Just maybe a little bit onto the side. Click OK. And it's really addictive actually. It's very, very fun to do. You can sort of see it rendering in real time, and you can really explore the design in high quality sort of ray traced, global illumination, really nice materials as well. So I think it's beautiful. Fantastic. Another nice image we'll have a look at and review towards the end of the video. Okay. So we've had a look at the asset library, we've had a look at views and synchronization, we've had a look at the lighting. We've also touched on the video and how easy that is. So again, if we just want to make a little video here, we click K. Let's add a keyframe. There's my first keyframe. Let's just move across a little bit subtly here. Just pan around and just kind of pan that view across. That's pretty nice. Let's add another keyframe. So it's only 2 keyframes. Let's pump up the time though between them. Say, I'm just going to scroll through here to maybe 10 seconds or so. A little bit small, this dialogue, but there we go. Let's preview that in real time. You can see that's a nice little kind of transition that sets up very, very easily in Enscape. So I'll maybe render this one out later on, but what we'll do, we'll save this path. So if you would like to kind of save the video path for later, all you need to do is basically click Save Path, and that will allow you to save. You've got a few different video paths in there. Let's just call this kitchen pan and save that one. Now the good thing is you can actually load them as well. So if you click load, you can see I've got a nice one here, kitchen coffee. Let's go for that. Let's load that one in, and let's just preview what that one looks like. So this is my kitchen coffee one that I prepared earlier that I'm just loading in. And you can see on this one I've actually done a bit of a time lapse in terms of the different times of the day as well. And that's a really nice little video that I'll show you at the end, the final footage, by rendering that out. Okay, great. So I think we've had a really good explore of the new Enscape. What do you think? I'm really impressed. I think the fact that you can kind of run it on a second monitor is ideal. The fact you can kind of walk clients around in real time. But, the best thing about Enscape is just the quality of those renderings you're going to get out of it out the box without really having to kind of try too hard. So without being a kind of total rendering expert, I think it really does mean that you can create some very high quality stills and animations. There are other things like panoramics and things as well, and standalones, but we'll do that in another video. But I really hope you've enjoyed watching this Enscape 2.9 for Vectorworks video. Thanks for watching, and hang around for the final footage montage at the end. Take care. Bye bye.